is being analyzed by other greats. Kevin Durant to speak. He's weighing in on Kawhi Leonard on his skill set, and he took it to Twitter. Despite winning MVP of the finals, KD says he's a product of the system. Let's take a look. Someone tweets him and basically says to him, I'm taking Leonard over Paul George all day and think Larry Bird traded him for George Hill. Kevin Durant responds, you tripping? Well, okay. To the other guy, he says, Trey 5, you don't think he can do work in Indiana? KD responds, no, he's doing work like this because of the system. Put Paul George on the Spurs. What would happen? Kevin Durant later deleted those tweets, so they're no longer there, but we were able to screen caption it as you saw. Stephen A., you agree with Kevin Durant?
Believe it or not, it doesn't matter. To some degree, I agree with him because Paul George could do damage on the Spurs. I have no doubt about that. He plays both ends of the floor, and despite his struggles, I think Paul George has incredible promise. And although I was incredibly disappointed in the Indiana Pacers this postseason, I'm still fans of all of those guys. I think they're great for the NBA, and I hope they resurrect themselves. But the reason why it doesn't matter is because as much as I hate to say this because he's one of my favorite people in the league and I root for him, I'm disappointed in Kevin Durant. That wasn't necessary. Kawhi Leonard just won a championship. You didn't. You understand? And the Spurs beat you to get there. Show some respect. Show some professional courtesy. Kawhi Leonard is a good young player. He's no Kevin Durant. Please don't get me wrong. But he's a damn good young player. Works hard, shuts his mouth, doesn't say anything about anybody. Why you got to say something about him? Especially when they just took you out in 6 games. Yep. You know, and by the way, if Kawhi Leonard is a product of the system, then Kevin Durant, why haven't you won a championship yet? Could it be because your system ain't working for you? I mean, that's a legitimate question. And I'm not saying this to knock Scott Brooks. Some people, he's on the hot seat. To me, he's done a good job. There have been times when I've had questions about Scott Brooks, but overall, there is no question that he has done a good job. He deserves the benefit of the doubt, and I personally like him, and I wish nothing but the best. But at the same time, if you want to elevate Kawhi's stature and attribute it solely to the system, then Kevin Durant, how come you've only been to 1 NBA Finals? How come you haven't won a championship? Could it be because of the system that you're playing under? How are you going to sit there and praise one system to denigrate a player, but at the same time ignore your system, which has failed to elevate you to championship stature? Now, I say that with respect because, Skip, you know how I feel about Kevin Durant. I think he's the second best player in the NBA. I think he's a superstar personified. I think if it wasn't for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's extreme, exorbitant numbers, he'd be the all-time leading scorer. He's an incredible ambassador for the game of basketball. I am a fan of Kevin Durant. But on this particular issue, I thought what he said was wrong, and it was unnecessary, and it was Bush League, and it was weak. And he shouldn't do that because he's better than that. As he said, what is this guy? This is the guy that talked about, you know, getting along, being happy, being nice. Remember he talked about that, Skip?
Do I?
What he did, what was it? What was the campaign? I don't remember what the campaign was.
Well, there was the Not Nice campaign to start a year ago, and then this year it's that nice guys can finish first.
Yes.
You know, that whole idea.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, do you know anybody that attributes to? To me, it would seem like Kawhi Leonard is a nice guy that finished first.
He did.
It would fall right in line with what Kevin Durant is supposed to be preaching.
Yeah. This is why Kevin Durant still fights that identity crisis of who am I? How should I be? Should I be the tough guy with edge? Should I be the not nice Kevin, or should I be the really nice Kevin? Should I almost lead the NBA in technical fouls, or should I not? I agree with every word you just uttered, and I thank you for every word you just uttered. You nailed it. This was, for me, something that I had your reaction initially, then I sat back and thought about it. I'm going to try to give Kevin a little break here because I think he's still raw for having lost a Game 6 at home to the Spurs without Tony Parker in the second half. This was classic don't hit send, to quote our great friend Herm, Coach Herm. And that's why those tweets got deleted, because he hit send with the emotion of the moment, because he's still bitter, he's a little raw, it was beneath him, he knew it, so he deleted the tweets. I agree with your premise, though. The irony of those responses is that I have sat here in this chair again and again and again and said the problem with the Oklahoma City Thunder is there is no real system. It's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Russell Westbrook dribbles the ball up the floor, and sometimes he just goes ahead and shoots it, or he lobs it out on the wing and says, hey, let's clear out for Kevin this time. Or Ibaka, go pick for Kevin this time, see what he can do. It's not great. It's not great strategy long term. It's not getting them where they want to be, and I think he's a little jealous of the system that the Spurs have. Now, let's look at Kawhi versus Paul George. I think Kawhi would be better, or is better, in the San Antonio system than Paul George would be. I'll give you this. Paul George may be a slightly better, pure on-ball defender right now than Kawhi is, but Stephen A., we just saw during the finals, is there a better help defender in basketball than Kawhi Leonard? He was taking LeBron, and if LeBron kicked it to Bosh on the wing, I'd look up and Kawhi Leonard was on the dead run trying to block Bosh's shot. So his basketball IQ within this defensive system is off the charts. And the other thing that people don't get about Kawhi Leonard that I'm going to show you here about Paul George and especially about Kevin Durant, Paul George and Kevin Durant turn the ball over at a high rate. Over the last 2 years alone, Kevin Durant's had 565 turnovers. Last 2 years combined, Kawhi Leonard has 142. 565 to 142. You know what the Spurs coaches love the most about Kawhi other than his defense? He doesn't turn the ball over. So there's a lot to learn here for Kevin Durant. You got to clean up your act. You've wasted too many possessions, too many empty trips because you just turned the ball over. You threw a bad, sloppy pass. Kawhi doesn't do that. You have to sit back and learn from how did the Spurs beat you in 6 games? This is why. So now it just comes across as just pure sour grapes instead of paying homage to a champ and saying, how can I learn from this?
Yeah, you're right. And I think the thing about it is that Kevin Durant needs to understand something else as well. He's on the clock, not just as somebody who's devoid of a championship right now, even though he's only 25, still young in his career. The talent that he has and that he brings to the table in combination with Russell Westbrook. The reason why I say he's on a clock, Skip, is not because of a lack of a championship, but because there are obvious things that need to take place that if a more assertive Kevin Durant was present, would have already occurred. Like, for example, somehow, some way, there may not be questions about Scott Brooks if Kevin Durant was a bit more assertive. There may not be headaches that a superstar talent, as mercurial as he may be in Russell Westbrook, poses. Because if you're the man, you reel that stuff in. You see what I'm saying? But because he hasn't done that, there's questions about the head coach. There's questions about the point guard. When, in fact, now it's getting to a point where there are going to be questions about the reigning league MVP.
That is correct. Last quick point. You realize, Stephen A., the Spurs don't run a lot of plays for Kawhi Leonard. It's always the point guards. It's Parker and Ginobili picking and rolling. So they have to beg him, encourage him. If the ball comes to you and you feel like you got a shot, put the ball up. Go ahead and take the shot. So here's Kevin Durant, high-volume shooter, criticizing a guy that they don't even run plays for.
Yeah. I like what Pop said about Kawhi Leonard. Stop deferring. Remember? He was like, just stop it. Get in there.
Well, that's what finally happened in the series. He stopped and started.
And became the MVP.
Yeah.
We leave it there because guess what we're talking about next? Soccer. You asked, folks. You're getting it, okay? We're talking about soccer.
Did they ask?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I got every